Good morning. So it's a nice Monday morning in Gothenburg and it's way too early for me to be up, but hey, I got another fatty scare today. You know how, like, I don't know about you guys, but like I try to exercise a lot, and the problem is that as soon as I start reaching or getting close to my weight goal, I go kind of, oh, I've been doing so great. Look at me going to the gym, watching what I eat, weighing in at 89 kilos or something like that. And then I kind of relax, and then I stop measuring and I start gaining weight again, and then I get a fat scare. And I look at the weight again and I see, shit, I'm slipping, and then I go back to trying hard again, and then I do that entire dance all over again after a few weeks. So I suppose I'll have to figure out a way to force myself to not relax until I'm actually at where I want to be. But that's me. Anywho, I was going to talk to you a little bit about something that has to do with project structures. Now, one thing that I'm trying for myself to solve, and I think it's not only something that I need to solve, but I think it's the most complex and probably the one thing that is really, it really remains unsolved for a lot of applications, is how to avoid spaghetti code. And by spaghetti code, or whatever term you want to use, is basically code that becomes so poorly designed, or the architecture is so poor that you can't maintain it over time. It gets really messy, and you have tech debt and legacy and all that stuff. And you know, if you think about it, most of the rules that you have, or these best practices, solid and dry, like almost exclusively they are designed to help you avoid spaghetti code. Just think about it. I don't think I know a single rule or best practice that's not designed specifically to solve that problem. And I want to throw my 2 cents into this mix. And it's not a new idea in any way. I mean, the people have been doing this for a long time, but I don't know. I feel as if we're almost losing that a little bit, especially in larger projects, and a few of those I've seen. It's almost like we forget it. I don't know why that is. It's very similar to the argument I made to my colleague about abstractions, where he said that, you know, I don't like that you're putting things in a function in the way that you do. And I said, well, you should be able to trust my abstraction. You don't have, like, he wanted to see what's going on inside of my abstraction. I said, but you don't care when you're working on something else. And if you tell me that you care, it's only because you don't trust my function. Because there's all these libraries that we're using that you trust. I mean, you have no idea what's happening under the hood for, you know, in Java, a collection or a list, or like all these data structures and functionality. You don't know how that works, and you don't feel the mental need to know it because you feel comfortable that the interface works in a certain way. And you should have that trust in everything that's written, ideally. That's not the case always, but that's what you should want, right? And like, try to follow me here. That's something that's specific to him, and I had the same thing when I first started. I didn't, like, when something was wrong in my code, I always assumed that it was my fault, and for the most part it was, but sometimes there was actually a problem with the library or something like that. And it was only, I don't know, it's like my brain had this segregation between, okay, this is somebody else's code or a library, and this is my code. And I couldn't let that go. Like, it was like gave the library a special treatment. And just follow me on this. So if you have that mental segregation and you're like thinking differently about somebody else's code, that you like a package or something that you download from a repository, and your own code, that segregation is with you. And I see that in the projects as well. Like, let's say that you're making a Express application or like something in Node, and I can see that for the most part, like if you look at how the package manager bundles an external library, it's a single directory with a single entry point, or like it exports a bunch of functions from a single entry point. It's a single directory. But then you go in your own code and you write modules and stuff, and you bundle that together. Most of the time I see it's being done in an object-oriented way, or there's a lot of modules, and you have your MVC patterns and all that good stuff. You stop doing that. I think I kind of started thinking, why are we doing this? Why are we not treating, like, if you have a library, or if you have a controller or an endpoint or whatever inside of your own project, why do you put that in a controller directory with like all the other controllers and stuff? Like, why not treat it as another npm package? Why not? I mean, I would even go as far as to say that maybe, and this is sorry, this is just like a mind experiment of mine. I might try it at some point. I don't know if it makes sense, but like when at Ticketmaster we realized that, hey, the logger that we use for the project, that could be a really nice like external library, and so we broke that out into an external library, put it in on our own repository, and depended on it like any other package that comes from Symfony. They use PHP, but yeah, the principle is the same idea. And I was thinking maybe there's something there, having this idea that even a controller or a single concept or so forth, it's just another library that you can depend on, even if it's specific code to your application. Because my thought is that, this is what they used to do in C, and it's what Java does with jar files and so forth. And I've always, it's not like it doesn't make spaghetti code go away, but when you segment things in that way, that's very much, if you think about it, that's highly close, like it's very close to what people are trying to do with microservices and this true decoupling between functionality. And I think that maybe this could be that this is a better practice than just throwing MVC at things. So maybe, and I've said this before, maybe we should keep MVC at the conceptual level and start writing code in a library driven style. So just try it. Next time you create an endpoint for a product or whatever, and you create a controller and you have a bunch of logic and all that stuff, try to think about it, like start bundling the controller together with the different help functions and services and whatever that is going to that controller endpoint or the controller is going to use in order to serve up the web content in this scenario, and see if you can put that in a single library. Maybe even put it as an external dependency and then just depend on it, because if you export it from this library and you just expose it to your application, it's going to work the same way as any other package that you're using. And if you have any luck with it, please reach out and tell me, because I'm getting curious about this way of structuring an application, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to try this out and see if it works. I want to believe that it works, because it's conceptually the exact same thing that we're already doing with other people's code.